Hey everyone, this is Sean from the Saving Your Future channel, the channel based on my book, Saving Your Future, as well as the podcast, Saving Your Future. And in this episode, we're going to talk about bringing your 401k should you roll it over. As I mentioned, this is based on my book, Saving Your Future, which I wrote in 2013. You can get a copy on Amazon if you're interested. You can get it both hard copy as well as soft copy. But with that, let's talk a little bit about a 401k. And let's say you have a 401k at your job and you're ready to leave that job. Do you roll it over? Well, does your new company have a 401k? And if so, definitely weigh the options. So what does the old company offer? Like how many investment options do they have and what are involved in those options? And what are you currently invested in? So for example, you're at company A and they have 20 options, okay? And some of them are producing really well. You want to actually look and see, everything that you look at is going to say past performance is not indicative of future results. However, if there's a track record of an investment portfolio doing well, it's usually because it's pretty well managed, or you can kind of use that as a gauge. So where is that in comparison to what you're going into? So for example, if there's 20 options and many of them are pretty high rates of return and beats the indexes and so on and so on, and the new one, let's say, only has like 6 or 8, and maybe some of them, which is actually a fact for some companies, maybe some of them are those age tracking stocks, like or age tracking funds, where it might be 2020, 2025, 2030, and so on. And basically those are target funds that'll adjust investments according to your age level and then just decide how to lower risk as you get older. Some of those can be okay. Generally, I'm not really in favor of them, but as opposed to nothing, they're definitely going to be better than nothing. And they can be useful in some cases. So if that's something you want to hear more about, then definitely comment in the comment section. I'd be happy to talk about that in more detail. I'm actually looking forward to doing some more live streams. And one of the things I'd like to do in them is answer your questions. So if you'd go ahead and ask a question down below, even if you're watching this after the live stream, I would definitely go back and take a look and potentially answer your question in a future live stream. So let's say the reverse is true, that your current 401k has only maybe a handful, 2 or 3, maybe 5 options. Compare those options to what's in your new potential 401k that's being offered, and how is the new options better than the old ones? And if you find that they are, then you may very well consider rolling over from the old 401k to the new one. Then another thing you got to look at is, what are fees involved? What kind of fees are involved? So does your company that you work for currently pay the fees for your 401k, pay the management maintenance fees for you while you're an active employee, but maybe that benefit goes away once you leave the company? If that's the case, then consider, hey, does my new company offer that? Because let's say it's even 1% a year, you're going to lose that 1% compared to only to the new one. Or if it's still, hey, you're in there, you're good to go, and the fees are higher on the options that are in the new 401k, then you might think, should I or can I leave it behind? And that might be a pretty good idea to do that. Another thing is, hey, well, sometimes companies will say, if you haven't been there long enough or you don't have enough money in their portfolio, you actually have to roll it. They give you, I think, like 60 or 90 days to roll it over. So then the question is, do I roll it over to my new company, or potentially do I put it in an IRA? Well, what's the benefit of putting it in an IRA as opposed to leaving it at your old company or rolling it into the new one? Well, if you roll everything into the new 401k, again, that could be a fantastic option. It might be the right one for you. I'm just giving you a number of different options so that you can consider them. So potentially moving it over into the new company could restrict you to those 5, 10 options, whatever that new company has. And if you feel that those are great, then by all means, go ahead and get into that. If you're not as good as your old company and it's like, well, but what am I going to do with this money? Putting it into an IRA might be the option, might be a good way to go. And I have some money in an IRA as well. And the benefits of rolling it into an IRA is it gives you more options. So pretty much many of the IRAs that are out there, I know Fidelity, for example, which I have as my IRA, a lot of them will allow you to adjust your investments on the fly. So you can essentially invest in almost anything you want. You can use index funds like an S&P 500 tracking fund. You can use a Dow Jones tracking fund. So you can put your money in those funds, as well as tons and tons of other funds that are out there. Then the other option you have is you can actually invest in individual stocks. So you feel, hey, GE has been beat up a little bit, but I really think it's going to come back. I want to put $5,000 into GE stock. I can buy that. I can just go straight ahead and buy the GE stock. And the cost of that, the cost in that particular IRA is very low. I think it's like $5 or $6 per trade. What is the cost of your investment, where it was before, or if you're going to roll it over into an IRA, what is, let's say, Fidelity versus Janus versus wherever, what's the minimum that they require you to put in, and do you have that amount? And then two, what are the fees if you're bidding on that? What are the fees for them managing your portfolio? So you're going to want to compare all those things as well in whether you decide to roll it over or not. But remember, always when you're leaving a company, check to make sure that you can keep it at the old company, or are you required to move it over to a new one or move it into an IRA of some sort. And then if that company has anybody, or, let's say the management company that you're working with, or that your employer works with, might be able to tell you, hey, this is what we offer as an IRA. At least get some information from them, call them up before rolling over and say, hey, I'd like to know a little bit more about, hey, one, can I roll over my IRA or roll over my 401k into an IRA with you guys? And what does that look like? What are going to be some of the fees to me? What are going to be some of the costs? What are the benefits to me? What are my investment options? Get all that information and then look into somebody else. So for example, one of my former ones was Principal. So I might call Principal and say, hey, I see that I have these particular options, but I know that if, I can move this into my IRA with Fidelity, or at my new company, I can get into this or that. So I can go to the, even ask Principal, hey, what do you think, or what do you offer as far as me leaving it with you, as opposed to rolling it over to these other guys? And they'll give you their pitch or their, information as far as what their thoughts are. And then you can also call the other company, call the IRA company, or check with your new employer and say, hey, I have money from Principal that I want to roll over potentially. Here's what they're offering me to stay, to kind of keep that in a personal IRA with them, and so on and so on. What are the comparisons to you? And now remember, find out whether they're fiduciary, whether their job is to answer in your best interest, or if their job is to just basically give you, hey, we want your money, and I'm going to give you the sales pitch to come to us. So even after they give you the information, I'd say don't make a decision immediately. Take the information, gather it together, put your notes together, do a little independent research as well. Check online and say, hey, benefits of, Principal's funds versus, Fidelity's funds, benefit of Janus versus whatever. Look into those things and find out which one's potentially the best option for you. And then look at with those two, then look at the investments that you're in. What have they been returning? Have you been at your company for a while? Is it, a certain percent compared to how the rest of the market's done? Are you beating the market? Are you even? And then in those particular items that you're investing in, what are the typical holdings in those investments? And then compare that to what you would do and say, okay, well, do they have a 1-to-1? So do they have, ABC growth fund, and then this one also has AB's growth fund. This one has Janus 1, 2, 3, 4. This one has Janus 1, 2, 3, 4. So maybe you want to move your money directly from one to the other, actually in the same place, potentially. Or they have these other funds and I feel like these are better for this or that or the other particular reason, they would definitely meet my investment needs in a different way or a better way than the old one did. So I hope this was helpful to you. If it is, definitely give a thumb up. I hope you subscribe to the channel. Check out my podcast as well, also called Saving Your Future. And if it's something you're interested in, please check out my book. Love you to leave a comment saying, hey, watch the video. I learned this or that, or I have this particular question. I'll be happy to answer them for you in the future. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one.